Okay.
Thank you, Alfonso. You may begin.
Good morning, all. Buenos dias. Last time I was here, maybe a couple of years ago, it was in Madrid. So now, due to where we are, the state we are, we're doing all this virtual. And for me, it's a brand new opportunity. So, hello. So what we since that time, let me introduce myself. I'm Alfonso Carrillo. I retired this February from Telefonica. I was very much engaged there on edge computing developments with the OnLive project. And furthering that to my prolonged career, now I am working, collaborating with OpenNebula on getting to extreme edge computing. OpenNebula systems, as some of you might know, is cloud orchestration provider, and now we have really pushed forward to the extreme edge, something that we felt was missing on the approaches that we were taking before, and that we need to move forward. Why? Because edge computing is the buzzword nowadays, and some work that we started back in 2016 on seeing that on the telco world we could take advantage of the central office locations to do some compute services for customers. Now that's become very important with the fiber optic and the 5G access network capabilities. But the edge is really truly undefined, or we don't think that the edge is one particular location. Having said that, we must recognize that the telco and the electric utilities have the capillarity to be as close to the end users and the customers as anybody else. We focused on that, and we try to bring the edge and define it as something that really improves user experience, provide new services that are today just coming up, and in the future will be common denomination for types of services that require high compute capabilities, heterogeneous resource usage. And also, we see it in the edge computing that data transfers have to be reduced and sometimes abstracted to a point where you move your loads to a very to remote sites or public clouds, but not all the data that you have that you've been collecting from the edge. If we're talking about network, artificial intelligence, or assisted reality, or virtual reality, or even video transmission and video recognition, the amount of data that you are processing at the edge is huge. If you have to transfer all the data to a centralized location to be analyzed, processed, and returned, the network, the networks have to be expanded to a point that it is not reasonable for the operators to be able to produce that. And at the same time, with these edge computing needs, there has become a reality the opening of the systems, open software, open hardware, less vendor dependency, multitude of companies, new vendors, new ideas are coming, new solutions, new applications that are coming to fruition, and they need open environments, open solutions, and that requires that we provide that capabilities. And last but not least, you need a faster local cloud provider ecosystem. Not everything can reside on a public cloud that is far away from the users. We are firm believers that the cloud has to extend to the neighborhoods. The users, all the users are different, and for the telcos, that presents some real challenges that we would like to help in a very peculiar way, have to help overcome some of these challenges. As we all know, the use cases that we are seeing now with the advent of 5G and fiber optic networks, especially in Spain, with a very extensive fiber optic network, probably the biggest in Europe, or not probably the biggest in Europe for residential and enterprise. That the use cases are very heterogeneous, very different. We have from drones doing surveillance work, to doing agricultural work, to robotics in factories, train supervisions, railway supervisions with the drones, augmented reality for universities, especially now with the pandemic going on. And all this multitude of use cases force the telcos that to change their mindset, as Miranda very well said in the previous presentation. Most of the difficulties are on the mindset. To change the mindset from providing a service that was very uniform, very homogeneous to everybody, what we call café para todos, or one size fits all, to a more personalized connectivity and computing resources, taking into consideration that most of the customers, even though they might be in high-tech industries, are not aware of the intricacies of network and cloud provision and edge computing provisioning. That's not their mainstream. That's not their core of their business. The core of their business is to produce what they need to do. Could be artificial intelligence, could be work on out of manufacturing, and that they're very specialized and they're very good at it, but they don't need to understand all the intricacies of access network, edge provisioning, public cloud, virtual machines, containers, how you orchestrate, how you create clusters, how you do that. And that's something that we are trying to do with a new Open Nebula solution. Try to help on deploying all these loads very quickly and being able to move it from one vendor to another, from one supplier to another at a touch of a button. And also making sure that both for mobile and for the PON networks or fixed networks, as they become one and they rely one on each other, we can provide edge computing capabilities or infrastructure right where it's needed. Okay, we see that the telco cloud, that the extreme edge computing will be based on the telco cloud concept. The telco cloud concept is something that separates the public cloud from being a very centralized, located in a very few hyper scale data centers, to more local based data centers, and even very far edge infrastructure. And the telco cloud will be the one that orchestrates this for the end users and customers. How we have to base all this? Well, we all agree that to be sustainable, we have to move into open hardware and software solutions. There is this extensive work for some years now, from the Open Compute Project, the ONF, Open Network Foundation, Open Run now, to utilize bare metal, white boxes, containers, micro virtual machines, and everything has to be done in a very simplified orchestration and operation and management Beth Cohen was on her previous presentation saying that, you know, the use of artificial intelligence to help on the operations and management of these complex now networks, because in the past the telco network was only something very local. Now we extend to public clouds that extend globally, and we must be able to have at least at one point a management criteria and the management tools. And what we are bringing forward is a simple way to bridge all this infrastructure from the very edge to the public cloud in one single screen that will allow the telco operators, the customers, and the end users to focus on their job and leave all the management of the infrastructure on the new automated way. So what we have created is the OpenAI EdgeCloud concept, and that's being released as we speak. So what we provide is two modus of operation, two modes. Sorry for. We'll have end users or customers that do have the capacity of having their own infrastructure on premise, and we can manage and orchestrate that infrastructure, make sure that they are connected to public cloud if they need, or they want to keep everything in-house, or want to use a service or provide, because they have enough infrastructure, provide a service to other enterprises, other end users. And also there is the group of customers that rely on completely public cloud and third-party data center services. So what we have done is we have integrated all this into one concept, into one single orchestration system, and it can work with as I said before, micro machines, micro virtual machines, containers, virtual machines, and make it very simple, the interaction and the aggregation, because we have created an abstraction layer that now works with AWS and Equinix, but we're developing that for other providers. So you can create and clusters and instances on different providers, different infrastructure, and make sure that you have everything under one single control panel. Okay, so that provides a uniform management of all these resources and lets the client and the customer focus on their job and can load any type of application. So let's remember, it would be great if everything was cloud native today and we didn't have anything from the past. But you know, as we all know, in reality, we have a lot of infrastructure, a lot of resources that don't work only on containers. There's still a lot of virtual machines, and there's companies that might not want to move on from virtual machines right now because different reasons, security, network capabilities of a container, to have multiple ports on a single container, different things that we have encountered throughout the years that we've been working on this, that still are not provided only by containers, and you still need virtual machines. So for us, it's key to have that. Here to a screenshot of what we're trying to do by having everything in one panel, and you being able to deploy quickly over infrastructure, making OpenAI part of the infrastructure and the orchestration part of the infrastructure, and not as a separate entity on top. As I said before, we're creating. We have right now abstractions to AWS and Equinix, and we're working on the ones that we have just mentioned here, like Google Cloud, Azure, Alibaba Cloud, DigitalOcean, Scaleway, and Gaia X, the European cloud development initiative. All this we do to avoid vendor lock-in, which is very important, especially when you come from the telco background, as I do. I remember when we used to diverse the traffic, the voice traffic or data traffic through different networks because of a cost. It was a cost decision. You know, we might take traffic to Germany through Italy or through France or sometimes through Greece because it was more cost effective. That same situation might come in the near future with all the public cloud providers that you might want to have to use one public cloud provider for some services, and then you find out that these same services are better, are more cost efficient in another one. And you know, how do you move that load and all the data from one to the other? Well, we have worked on a way of, with a single touch, to move loads from one data center to another, or from one cloud provider to another, and move the load automatically, so you can quickly change how you do your edge computing, and how do you do your backups, and use the public cloud resources in a more efficient way to your operation. Further in that, you can see that we are using how OpenAble is being used right now in many different applications: on-premise edge, 5G edge, public cloud, data centers. And as I said before, you know, in any infrastructure, most use cases, when I started working on edge computing 5 years ago, we thought that everything was going to be homogeneous, that one single set of compute infrastructure was going to be able to attend the demands of all the use cases. Now, the reality is that there's not going to be one homogeneous type of edge computing infrastructure. There's going to be a mix and match of different components: GPUs, CPUs, hard drives, solid state drives, memory cards, and all of them have to be orchestrated in a simple manner. So the users is transparent to the users, and the people managing this are capable of understanding what infrastructure they need for what use case, and then they be able to quickly instantiate it, and then when the service is terminated, to liberate those resources for another use case. And that's going to be the day-to-day what we done. Well, you know, it was a topic that it was difficult for a cloud orchestration virtual machine type system to move to containers. Have been able to orchestrate it. We have done that, and we think that that's great work we've done on being able to to provide native container orchestration in our solution. And we think that that's a huge step forward, and that allow us to, in a very simple manner, orchestrate all types of applications. As I said before, we have done released a new version that it is completely focused on edge computing. You can do a trial yourself in 5 minutes and see how it works, and see all kinds of loads. And needless to say, this work has been sponsored by the European Union's Horizon 2020 Research and Innovation Program. And we have to thank them and mention them. And I think with that, I leave time for any questions and answers that you might have. Excuse me a second, because I have to reconnect to the webinar, because I don't see the chats right now.
We're running a little short on time now, so perhaps what I would suggest is that we could have people
Great.
contact you directly across
Thank
the
you.
platform with any questions. And yeah, it's been really great session. So thank you very much for that.
Thank
And
you.
yeah, I as usual, I want to make sure people are chatting on the platform and getting in contact with one another. So thank you
Great.
very much.